Good afternoon. My name is Jason Grubbs. I'm the chair of the City County Planning Board. Welcome to the December 11th, 2025 meeting of the Planning Board. Would you please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today's meeting is being broadcast live by Winston-Salem TV digital media and will be rebroadcast at 10 o'clock a.m. Friday morning and again at 4 o'clock p.m. Sunday afternoon. Additionally, an on-demand recording will be available on the City of Winston-Salem's YouTube channel. Our first order of business today will be the consent agenda containing items for which the petitioner is requesting withdrawal or continuance, or items for which the planning staff has recommended approval and no one has signed up to speak in opposition. For our public hearings today, each side will have a total of 12 minutes and there is no rebuttal period. Once the public hearing is closed and the board goes into work session, no one is permitted to speak unless the planning board asks them a question. Items under section B of our agenda will require final action by the elected body, either the Winston-Salem City Council or Forsyth County Board of Commissioners. As such, votes taken today are recommendations which are considered by the elected body during their review of the requests. For general use zoning requests, the planning board must consider the full range of uses allowed in the zoning district being requested. The petitioner may not refer to a specific intended use of the property. For special use district zoning requests, the petitioner must identify the intended use or uses of the site and give specific details on how the site will be developed. If you're addressing the board today, please, before you begin your comments, give us your name, address, and zip code for the record. First item on the consent agenda is the approval of the minutes of the November 13th meeting. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Motion by Mr. Land.
Second.
Second by Mr. Patino. Any discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Now I'm going to call on Mr. Brian Wilson, who will take us through the rest of the consent agenda.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Our first two items are B3, that's case F1663, and item D2, that's PBR 2025-21. Both of those items are going to be continued to your January 8th, 2026 meeting automatically. And then our first item tonight is B1, that's W3672. That was the case continued from your November hearing. Petitioner is Parks Family Holdings, LLC. The site plan was called 906 South Broad Street. That's the street address. Requesting rezone from an LB zoning to PBS. It's a 0.23 acre site located at the southwest intersection of West Walnut Street and South Broad Street. The site itself is located in a mixed-use neighborhood on South Broad Street. It's just north of the Gateway Activity Center there, the MUS zoned area there. A lot of this area has been rezoned from LI or other mixture of prior zoning to PBL over the recent years, the past 5 years, actually more like 8 years since about 2018. There's still some remnant LI zoned property to the south, and then of course you have West Salem there to the north and west, the single family zoning. And this is the aerial. And you can see the site is fairly small. It's a little less than a quarter of an acre there. It does have one existing single-family home and is heavily wooded. And you can see all that commercial property there across South Broad Street there to the east. I'm going to put my pointer on so everybody knows what I'm actually pointing at. There we go. And the South Central Area Plan recognizes the existing land use of the single-family home. Again, this plan, when it was adopted in 2015, this was all owned by Old Salem. They've divested of this property, and that's been rezoned over time. So this is kind of more evolved into more of a mixed-use area. So the requested uses, they're all multifamily and single-family uses, are generally consistent with that change over time. And this is the proposed site plan. It depicts a single 3-unit townhome building and then an off-street parking area with access onto South Broad Street. The site itself has great transit and multimodal access. It's a good infill project to get a couple extra units in the serviceable land area near goods and services. The site plan itself does meet all UDO requirements, and staff recommends approval of this request. Be more than happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for staff?
I just have one real fast one. When I look at the layout of the parking, seems to be 5 spaces for 3 units. Is there room to the right of the last space for a 6th space?
There's actually 7 spaces on the
did I
plan.
miscount it?
One is obscured by the tree, and one may be obscured by the radius of the street yard tree.
And I'm obscured by age, thank you. Thank you.
All right, any further questions for staff? No one has signed up to speak in opposition to this item. Is anyone here opposed to this recommendation? Seeing no one, I declare the public hearing closed. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move the planning board find that the request is consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Patino. Any further discussion? All those in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mr. Chairman, I further move the planning board recommend approval of W 3672.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Patino. Any further discussion? All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, we'll move on to the next item. That's B2, W3673. Petitioner is Southern Properties of the Triad LLC. They're requesting a general use rezoning from GOS to LO general use. It's a 0.39 acre site located at the northeast intersection of Brigham Street and South Hawthorne Road. As you can see on this location map, the north side of South Hawthorne is already zoned LO. And the south side does have multifamily there. That's actually condominiums. And then it does transition into the single-family neighborhoods there further to the south. You've got the Navant Old Forsyth Medical. That's to the west there, the campus use there. Excuse me, campus district. And this is the aerial. You can see the essentially constructed environment there with a whole lot of doctor's offices in that particular section. And then you can see the single-family homes again further to the east and south. The Southwest Winston-Salem area plan recognizes the existing land use for offices, again, with the surrounding development pattern as a low-intensity transitional use between the high-intensity Navant and campus use there, and kind of providing that buffer, that use buffer to the single-family neighborhoods further to the east and south. And just a reminder, this was originally rezoned from LO to GOS in 1999, so in many ways this is a reversion back to that original zoning that was here prior to this GOS. This is consistent with, the staff found this to be consistent with both the area plan and the comprehensive plan, and staff recommends approval of this request. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Questions for staff? All right. No one here is signed up to speak in opposition to this item. Is anyone here opposed to this recommendation? Seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move the planning board find that the request is consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Patino. Any further discussion? All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mr. Chairman, sorry.
Go ahead.
I further move the planning board recommend approval of W 3673.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Patino. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Before we move on to item 4, a couple things. I'd like to recognize Councilmember Joyner, who is joining us. Thank you for being here. And our next item, I believe, is a little bit unique, so we'll let Mr. Wilson.
Mr. Chairman, if I could,
ahead.
we're actually not going to, since it is a little atypical, we're not going to do that one on consent. We'll come back to
I got
B4.
you.
So we'll
Okay.
go ahead and go to C1.
Well,
Sorry.
never mind.
I should have
That
told
was
you that this
premature
morning.
on my part. Thank you.
All right, so now we'll move on to item C1. This is preliminary subdivision number 2025-116. So far it's named the Golden Valley subdivision. It's a 42-lot proposed major subdivision in an RS9 zoning district. This area was recently annexed into the city of Winston-Salem. It's a 13.7 acre site located on the north side of Union Cross Road at its intersection with Thomasville Road. So there's an intersection there. And this is the proposed site plan. They are proposing to extend Glen Laurel Lane, that's in the Hunterwood subdivision, further to the north, extend that through the site, and then they'll have its own intersection access to Union Cross Road there, a little bit further back from that kind of odd intersection there, that Y intersection. The developer did work with NCDOT to provide additional right-of-way dedication. The site plan does meet all underlying requirements, including sidewalk and a stormwater device. Staff recommends approval of this request, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for staff?
Move approval.
Second. Motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Patino. Any discussion? All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous as well.
All right, and last item on the consent agenda is D1, that's PBR 2025-20. Petitioner is Viasat Incorporated, requesting the use of utilities in an AG zoning district. The entire tract of land is 12 acres, but just to be clear, the actual lease area that will be utilized is only about 700 square feet. It's located on the north side of Bowens Road between Isaac Street and Hunting Hounds Run. Oh, and I apologize. I don't even know if you can see it, but that is the approximate location of the lease area on this.
Little red square.
And just another kind of location, that's the approximate location of that lease area. And this is the actual kind of blow up of where they're proposing to install that infrastructure there. They're going to hook into utilities through this access here, and I believe that's going to be a fiber connection. This is a satellite communications array. And then they are showing all required fencing, their access, and the required buffering and frontage screening. Site plan does meet all UDO requirements, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for staff?
Will the remainder of the 12 acres ever be able to be developed?
Yes.
Move approval.
Second. Motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Patino. Any discussion? All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, we'll now go back to item B4, and Deputy Director Kirk Erickson will present that. I do want to provide just a little bit of context on this. This is something that the planning board doesn't see very often. I think since 2017, this will be the third time that we've seen this. This is back in 2001, City Council passed a resolution that required any time that the city was looking to either sell, convey, or even grant a long-term easement on a piece of park property, that it go not only to the Parks and Rec Commission, but to the planning board just for review and a recommendation. So what Kirk is going to go over is this is a request for an easement for a transmission tower and access easement. And what you will do today will be make a recommendation whether or not what the request is makes sense from the utilization of park property. The ultimate recommendation and consideration and decision on whether or not to lease this will ultimately lie with City Council, but this just is, does the request make sense? Are we losing valuable parkland? Is what is being requested a problem, or does it look like it could work and still continue to provide the necessary benefit that the park provides? So with that, I'll turn it over to Kirk.
All right, thank you, Chris, for that introduction. And again, good afternoon, Chairman Grubbs and members of the board. The petitioner on this item is Vogue Towers LLC, and their request would be to enter into a long-term lease agreement with the city of Winston-Salem for land located within Schaffner Park. And I apparently am not getting through to the computer, so we'll try it this way. Again, as Chris mentioned, a 2001 Winston-Salem Council resolution requires the planning board and council to hold public hearings on the sale or transfer of parkland, including long-term leases. For those who aren't aware, Schaffner Park is a large recreational facility. It's located in western Winston-Salem on both sides of Silas Creek Parkway. The park is approximately 47 acres in size, and it contains a variety of amenities, including an exercise park course, tennis and pickleball courts, a children's playground, and athletic fields. This is the Forward 25 growth management map showing the location of Schaffner Park. As you can see, it spans both growth management areas 2 and 3, but the site that we're looking at is within growth management area 2, the urban neighborhoods. This is a location map showing the boundaries of the entire park in the lavender color and the access easement and actual lease area in the yellow area. The petitioner approached the city about leasing a 60 by 60 area in the southeast corner of the park to build an 120-foot tall monopine transmission tower. Again, this would be the type of tower that is designed to look like the trees that it would be going in and kind of increase compatibility. The tower would be directly adjacent to the wooded area at the edge of the park, and it would be secured by fencing meeting UDO requirements. The tower would be accessed by a 30-foot wide easement that connects to Yorkshire Road. That easement is already there. It's basically a travel lane for some temporary parking that's used for soccer and other types of athletic events that are held in the park. And the proposed lease agreement has an initial term of 5 years with the option for the city to renew that lease at 7 5-year increments up to a maximum term of 40 years.
So the option only belongs to the city, not the lessee?
Well, the city and the lessee, basically. Again, I don't want to pretend to be a lawyer, and I haven't seen the contract language, but I would assume that there is a clause that could allow either party to basically dissolve the agreement under certain circumstances. We'll just go through a few site photos. This is looking east on Yorkshire Road. The subject property is to the right, the actual park. The tower site will be much further off the screen. This is looking west on Yorkshire Road. Again, the park is to the left, and the actual tower, which we'll see later, is going to be much further off the road. So this is looking into the subject property towards the play area, where those cars are lined up, and further towards the trees is the access easement. Again, as I mentioned, there's some fields that you can see in the background, and those cars are kind of parked there for the athletic events that happen. And this final picture shows where the actual tower will be going. It's in the distance where that tree stand is, and this is looking from Yorkshire Road past the pickleball and tennis courts to the far southeast corner of the park.
Does that oval represent the expected height of the tower, or is it?
No, it's just meant to kind of circle the general area, since I couldn't pinpoint the specific location from this angle.
Thank you.
Tall tree.
And so finally, we have an aerial photograph. Again, you can see the lighter area that kind of runs north and south in the red dashed area. That represents the driveway that's already there for the athletic field parking. And that easement will continue over to the southeast, and the dark shaded area, the 30 by 30 lease area. The petitioner has also submitted a example of one of their previous monopines. This one is in Tennessee, but that's an example of one of their facilities. So overall, just to give you a little bit of analysis on this, the City Rec and Parks Commission recommended approval of the lease agreement at its November 2025 meeting. That's the first step in this process as outlined by the council resolution. Planning staff also reviewed this and recommends approval of the request for a variety of reasons. Number one, the total lease area is less than 2% of the total park size. Additionally, the proposed tower type and location shouldn't negatively impact the functionality or appearance of the park. The new tower will improve telecommunication service in the area. The lease will provide additional revenue to support city services. And finally, the actual tower approval isn't granted by this request. That would require a separate review process where staff would be looking at both the zoning and state building code requirements. With all that said, Staff does recommend approval, and I'll be glad to answer any questions. We also have a representative of the petitioner here if we need to call on him.
Can you go back to the slide that shows the easement, please?
This one here?
If north is up, that east-west section, is any of it fenced? I mean, you're not excluded from being able to walk across that path?
No, the easement will not be fenced, and again, it's not going to prohibit any access. It just secures the applicant a perpetual legal right to kind of go through there to access their tower. The only thing that will be fenced is the 60 by 60 compound at the far corner.
Okay.
And will that be maintained by the lessee or by the city?
The lessee.
Will this come back for a formal rezoning?
No rezoning is required. I know some of you were on the board back in 2013 when we went through the big process to redo our transmission tower standards. And under that ordinance, basically these concealed towers, stealth towers as they're known, the ordinance was set up so they could be approved by staff because, again, they're the least intense types of towers. And so it would be a staff review, but it wouldn't involve both zoning and building code.
Okay.
Is there any anticipation of more than one tower in the future? And if so, would that have to come back to us or to you?
We're not aware of that. Again, this is the city manager's office is who actually, in consultation with the attorney's office, was who actually negotiated the potential lease on this.
Obviously, this tower would allow for co-locates for other users. I mean, you know, obviously we can't determine whether or not there would be another tower. It probably, if so, it probably wouldn't be at this location. It would probably be somewhere else in the area that may or may not be city-owned property. It could be, I mean, I have no idea.
So the action that we would take at this time is specific to one tower?
Well, the action you would take at this time would be, you know, if the planning board believes that the request is
Appropriate.
I mean, appropriate. I mean, you know, this isn't an ordinance thing. This is one of those hybrid things where city council wants input from the planning board. If the planning board feels that this is appropriate, what the planning board will do is just make a recommendation to city council for approval as presented.
And the only reason this is in front of us is because it's in a park.
Correct.
Right. We have nothing to do with cell tower placement or anything like that anymore.
Correct. And just to be abundantly clear, there's nothing about this request that deals with the actual tower itself.
Right.
Council will only be approving the lease agreement and the designation of what area is encumbered by the lease.
And so we're just approving the easement
Well, the easement path and the lease area.
and the lease?
And really, I think
Okay.
specifically, is there some planning UDO reason why this would not be appropriate? You know, we're looking at it still from a planning perspective, not should this tower be here or should the city lease the property, but is there a specific planning development ordinance issue with doing this?
Right.
How tall is the tower?
It's proposed at 120 feet.
Sometimes I think a non-monopine looks less intrusive than just a regular one.
It always
Well,
does.
and
I would not necessarily argue with that, but the ordinance requires the monopine in certain situations, and the zoning that is at this location dictates that it has to be a monopine.
Got it.
120 feet is approximately 10 stories.
Yeah.
Tall tree.
Any additional questions for staff? All right. No one here has signed up to speak in opposition to this matter. Is there anyone here opposed to this recommendation? Seeing no one, I'll declare the public hearing closed. Are there any questions, additional questions for staff or any discussion on this?
Mr. Chairman, I move the planning board recommend approval of the proposed disposition of city park land.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Lamb, second by Mr. Patino. Any further discussion? All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that's unanimous.
thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman of the Board, that brings me to staff report. And I actually have to get to my notepad to get to that. The first item we will have is Mark Allred will go over the zoning caseload for January.
Well, it's not in front of me, but there's 5 for next month. And it's just trying to remember off the top of my head. Thank you. 1 continued rezoning case, 1 final development plan, 1 text amendment, and of course that continued planning board review and 1 new planning board review. So pretty short, small number of cases. How's the best way to put it?
And speaking of the text amendment that's on there, I'll now turn to Dan Roberts, who will give you a brief preview of UDO CC 32. This is something that is fairly simple to do, and since we're not having, since we don't have work sessions in either November or December, we would like to be able to advertise this for a public hearing for January if the planning board doesn't have an issue with it. And this is dealing with mechanically stabilized slopes, i.e. retaining walls, and I'll turn it over to Dan, who'll give you just a brief overview.
Great. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. So this ordinance amendment is to remove section 8.4.6 point B, which is graded slopes and mechanically stabilized slopes and fill is the title of it. And the amendment is to remove that section from the ordinance entirely. The conditions in this section will be reevaluated by engineering staff and placed in the infrastructure development standards. And so this section essentially deals with the approval process for retaining walls and graded slopes that exceed the ordinance and the approval process that kind of goes through. And I can provide more, detail and background in the following session. But planning staff will no longer be responsible for facilitating that approval process. If it were to go forward, it would be the engineering department's responsibility.
Just a little bit of additional context. Currently, the UDO limits the height of retaining walls to 10 feet without doing a 10-foot terrace and moving back. There is a provision that allows for either in the city, the assistant city manager for public works to approve an alternative height, or the planning board to approve that alternative height if it's not in the city. So if it's in the county. And it's one of those things where, from a staff perspective, we feel like that we're not experts to be able to guide and advise the planning board on engineering standards on things not in the city. And the assistant city manager for public works has an engineering staff, utility staff who can look out for public infrastructure if there is a perceived threat to water and sewer lines or roads or other infrastructure if the height gets too tall. So for that reason, we would like to remove it from the UDO and actually have it in the infrastructure development standards that protects the city and city-county utilities. If it's in the county and it's adjacent to a right-of-way, that's something that NCDOT would be looking at. So we feel like it's covered by these other methods, and it would be better taken out of our court. So that's the text amendment we're looking at. And the text amendment should be fairly simple. We're going to take it out of the ordinance that's going to say reserved. So with that, are there any questions?
Makes sense.
So you feel like that's something that we could bring to you?
We've done like if it's a site plan review or something where they're giving you all the information about a site, that's where where they're looked at now, right?
Correct.
So
yeah, I mean, it's not taking. I mean, they will still be reviewed. Currently, any retaining wall over a certain height requires an engineering design and certification anyway. So if it's being reviewed, it's being permitted, and it's being certified that it's going to be constructed a certain way, and then we don't actually even do the inspection. They have to submit a certification that it was constructed per the design. So if anything happens as far as a failure, it's back on the engineer. But to answer your question, yes, it will be shown on the plans that go through the approval. It's just there's not a waiver mechanism where they have to either go to the assistant city manager or to the planning board. It's just handled at the staff level.
Will it show up in the notes or review notes like other similar things that someone else may give the final approval on?
It will, and again, the engineering department, utilities, it will be in the infrastructure design standard guidelines that they use to review everything anyway, so they will be providing feedback on
So
that.
the note would say to the applicant, you must get this approval from the infrastructure and design group.
Correct,
Just like it would go to, you must get approval from stormwater or from utilities for anything.
correct. It will be part of the review process.
Okay.
All right. Any objection to us moving forward with a public hearing on this at our January meeting?
All right.
No.
All right. Thank you very much. The next item that I have is I would like to introduce Cornelius Washington, CJ. He is our newest planner. He was a permit tech on our staff, and for those that don't know, this is Chris Leake's son. So he is doing great things for us. He came in, worked hard, and has already been promoted. He's been in our department for less than 6 months. So anyway, you will probably see him on some future zoning cases, but wanted to make sure I introduced him. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just said welcome aboard.
Oh, thank you. Next to last is, for those that don't know, today is Mark's 50th birthday. Happy birthday to Mark. And then finally, I did say it at the party, the reception downstairs, for those that weren't here, just thank you for everything you do for the community. Thank you for all that you do for planning staff, and we want to wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and really appreciate everything that y'all do. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm finished.
All right. I understand my predecessor may have been watching his introduction online, his son's introduction online, so we'll just wish Mr. Leake a Merry Christmas as well. And is there anything else for the good of the order?
Guess we'll have a motion to dismiss.
All right.
All right, second.
Thank you very much.
And have a happy
Thank you,
holiday.
everyone.
Good meeting. Thank you, Jason.